Hello, everyone. Welcome back to eCommerce AI, the Revenue Revolution. Today, we're thrilled to welcome Jason Nyhus, President and GM of Shopware. With over 20 years of experience in sales and marketing, Jason has a proven track record of driving revenue growth and leading high-performing teams. He is here to share his insights on leadership, innovation, and the future of e-commerce, alongside with our very own CEO, Dr. Ari Khan. So without any longer, I'm going to let you two take it away.
Jason, thanks for being here today. Good to see you.
Hey, man, what an honor. Great to be on with you.
Oh, my God. You and I have been in this game for a long time, and we've seen a lot of transformations. Congratulations with Shopware. You guys are blowing it out. I really love it. Winning new customers left and right and doing a lot. What are the big trends that you're seeing on the e-commerce side? What's making a big difference for you and your customers?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me. It's an absolute honor. For those who are watching, you can see that Ari and I share the same barber. I'm thrilled to be on. I've been in e-commerce for 25 years, having worked with some SMBs, having worked with some of the biggest enterprises in the world. And now here at Shopware, we're really focused on the mid-market merchant. And so what's really working for us is the fact that these mid-market merchants have kind of champagne taste on a beer budget. And so we kind of are purpose-built, the fact that we're open source to solve that community or bring that community to solve the needs of that mid-market. So that's been a really, really encouraging trend over the last couple of years that we're proud to serve that market.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of activity in terms of mid-market B2B companies that have sat on the sidelines because either it was too expensive to seriously get into the e-commerce game, or they just had legacy teams that didn't really innovate, that are now finally moving up the tech ladder and really innovating. And I think that is probably one of the big growth engines, the mid-market B2B in particular.
Couldn't agree more. In fact, one of the things we're seeing is kind of the Shopify effect in a sense, which means that they're the greatest box ever invented. Shopify is, as it relates to simple commerce. And so one of the things that we're seeing a lot of success on is that we've seeded the market in a lot of ways on the simple commerce. If you are a relatively small catalog with relatively small merchandising requirements, not a lot of physical retail stores, not a lot of global, and basically high margin products, you're a perfect fit for Shopify. And we send customers over there all day long. Where we're having a lot of success, again, is in that mid-market, but more specifically in complex commerce. And and I love that you brought up B2B, because inherently B2B is complicated. Now, we're not talking about the simple wholesale kind of consumerization story. We're talking about distributors all the way up to marketplaces, where the needs and the complexity really are how B2B brands differentiate. And so that's where we're seeing a lot of success. And I know you guys are as well. But it's this concept of complex commerce. There's a home for you, and there's a way to embrace technology to really drive revenue growth for these B2B brands.
What I think happened over the last, call it 10 years, is that large B2B enterprises, like one of our customers, Caterpillar, as an example, they could invest in figuring out what they needed to do. And it was very bespoke as to what their particular business processes were. And they were, doing a lot of very complicated things. And the mid-market B2B guys, they didn't want to blow the budget to sort of feel their way in the dark and figure out which parts are most critical. And that matured significantly, where now there's some best practices, some design templates, some standards that their customers are expecting from them, so the customers don't have to be retrained when they're buying online, and that they can follow without having to invent everything from scratch. And I think that when people take a look at Shopware as an example, the very fact that you've done it not just once or twice, but many times before, that you have standards and best practices that they can follow, rather than having to, they're not tech experts. They're experts at whatever, tractors or whatever they're doing in the B2B space.
That's exactly right. I love the point. So there are the innovators, the first movers, but the second movers almost always have the advantage because the path has been worn, the mistakes have been made, the products have been standardized, and there's capabilities that can be democratized and brought to them. So you're exactly right. In fact, one of the huge benefits that I have working at Shopware is the fact that we have 50,000 active customers, largely in Europe. And so in almost every vertical, we've got dozens, if not hundreds, of use cases of merchants who've been there, done that we can apply and help us make brands successful here in North America. So couldn't agree more with your point, especially the Caterpillar example.
Yeah. 50,000. I knew you guys were killing it, but I didn't know it was that big. All right. Excellent. Way to go.
Most of that existed before I got here, just to give credit where it's due.
That wasn't all you? Okay.
No, absolutely not.
I'm going to tell everyone you did it, though.
Yeah, perfect.
That's amazing. What are some of the technical trends, the differentiators for Shopware and your competitors that are moving the needle for customers? What are some of the technologies that need?
Well, you made a point earlier, which I thought was really excellent, around the people in B2B commerce are really, really experts at their products, their services, how they differentiate, what their customers expect, how they want to buy, how their sales reps want to sell. That's really what makes B2B brands successful in the first place. And commerce needs to take advantage of that and really accelerate those differentiations. And so in a world of B2C commerce, you've got people who are site optimization experts and really maniacally focus on 1 percentage point here or there and the right payment mix. And in B2B, it's different. And I love that. So these people who are in B2B commerce, e-commerce technology is not 90 to 100% of their job. It's generally a smaller percentage. Okay.
Cool.
And so when Shopware is having a lot of success with B2B merchants, we actually take a tour of their warehouse and figure out what makes them tick. What products do they want to sell? What exceptions and rules govern their business? What is the day in the life of a sales rep? And how can we give them tools and capabilities that resolve channel conflict, not accelerate it and make it worse? Sure. And so at Shopware, we've got capabilities like AI Copilot, which takes all the functions of someone who runs e-commerce and automates them through AI. So you no longer have to do box shots or write descriptions or catalog or price or do all the things or manage your reviews. The AI will do it for you, and you become an approver as opposed to a creator. Now, it doesn't eliminate the need for their role. What it does is it makes them more efficient so they can do the more high-value things. So that's one example. Yep. Another really good example, Ari, is the product we have, no one else does, called the Digital Sales Room. And why this is so powerful in B2B is most technologies come in as a mandate. Use the CRM, 100% adoption. If it doesn't happen in the CRM, it isn't happening, right? With Shopware's Digital Sales Room, we come in and say, this is a tool that the rep can use just like a doctor would use telehealth, okay? Good. It doesn't replace in-person visits, but what it does is it allows you to have a vehicle to see your patients more efficiently, to bring your purchase history, your medical history, the things you're eligible for or not, et cetera, in a much more efficient way for a sales rep to still serve that underserved customer, but just using the power of an e-commerce system with video, presentations, and the pricing of power of an engine. So those are really two really good examples of where we're winning the feature war to the people who commerce is a part of their job, not the whole job.
First of all, that's really interesting, almost an epiphany to me. I realized it, but I couldn't articulate it like that in the B2B world, e-commerce is a smaller part of the job, and we got to recognize that. We have been using a term called that we've coined called tailored AI, and I think that's consistent philosophically with what you're doing, where we see companies try to just plug AI in as a black box that replaces a team member as opposed to augments the team. And I think that the augmentation, the approach that you're taking, is the right approach. There's just too much going on. Even if the AI was a genius. It doesn't know the dynamics and the goals of the individuals, and it needs to empower them to do more, but not take them out of the loop. And we're seeing super well reception on that, especially in the B2B space where it's a more complicated decision process and there's more at stake on individual transactions than just selling a pencil to one person, for example.
Exactly. And have you ever met anybody in commerce, B2B or B2C, that feels like they can get all of their work done in a day? I've never met one. Right. And so when we look at it, there's just a tremendous amount of blue collar work being done by white collar people. And so how do we use AI to accelerate their ability to get things done? And that's kind of how we view it. And, we're working on the ability, agentic commerce is coming. And you think about things like how you can spin up instances of an e-commerce site that have a subset of the catalog with all the pricing rules built in that you can click buttons and generate on the fly. That's where this thing is going. And so we're really proud that AI is part of our core product, an advantage that we take advantage of every day.
Yeah, and agentic, I think, is the key part of it. That's really where the rubber hits the road. When you're able to spin up a website, for example, that is real agentic AI, where you've got a tangible result from the action from the AI system that somebody can point to and say, all right, I got value right there. And until people really bring in the agentic part into their systems, it's questionable whether there really was true value.
Exactly. And I got to tell you, while we're on this point around AI, I didn't realize it when I joined, but one of the biggest advantages that we have is that our product actually launched in December of 2019. So call it 2020, which means it's a 5-year-old product. And so it's it is the newest product at scale in the e-commerce marketplace. What does that mean? It means it's built to be API first. It's built it's built automatically to serve mobile and marketplaces. It's built to be extendable. It's built to have webhooks natively, and it's built to deal with the world of AI. And you think about all the other players in the industry, these are 15 or 20-year-old products that are hosted in a cloud, but most of the R&D is in refactoring the product so that it can take advantage of today's context, which means you're not getting new features and capabilities. You're simply just trying to catch up and kind of, keep the boat afloat in a way.
Yeah. That for non-technical people is a super important point that, if you're not a software engineer, that you just don't realize the birth date of the software itself is really important. Microsoft does a great job where they actually create brand new from scratch versions of Windows like every 6 or 7 years or something. And you can tell when those releases come out, it started with Windows NT, and I think that 11 was one of those where it's like, oh my God, everything works and it's not slow as molasses and, built backwards and so on. But very few people can do it.
Very few people do it. And it takes the old German kind of cold mindset that says this is no longer good enough. Let's start over. And that's what we did in 2019. And so, we frequently get people asking us around, well, how does it perform with large catalogs? How does it perform with, unlimited channels? And the answer is twice as fast as our competition because it's about a third of the code base. And it's built in a more modern stack. It's got less to deal with. And so it's just more efficient. So I love that you picked up the born on date concept because I couldn't agree more.
That's excellent that's the way that the approach that you've taken, and especially with everything that's happening in AI, that you've got the hindsight, the second mover advantage, so to speak, when you built from scratch and you know that LLMs are going to be part of your tech stack.
Yep, exactly.
Yep. On the LLM side, so what are some of the capabilities that Shopware on the in AI in general has specifically?
Yeah, well, let's get into it. Philosophically, one of our advantages is we're one of our owners is the Carlyle Group, and they're the second largest private equity firm in the world, which is a pretty big network. And one of those connections that they've made for us is to OpenAI. And OpenAI, they're one of the largest investors. So in a way, it makes a sister company of Shopware. Really? And so we get access. Yeah, that's a nice.
Wow. Okay,
Carlyle. Small little stepsister compared to that. But anyway, we get the opportunity to engage with their team and have been in San Francisco talking about how commerce and AI come together with all the right people in the room. And so we take advantage of the power that OpenAI brings to the table and integrate it into every functional aspect of our commerce system. Again, so you take the day in the life of the person doing the job. They need to add products. They need to add descriptions. They need to optimize for words, which obviously we would work with Hawk Search on how that works. Talk about how it's categorized, how the customer reviews all get organized into summaries. There's about 21 different applications in which AI is embedded in our core product, and that list is going to continue to grow and evolve over time. But if you can imagine a rule or something that is done by people today through creation, it can be done through AI through a click of a button inside a Shopware.
A very specific use case that we see frequently in the B2B world with large catalogs are errors and missing data in the catalog itself. Do you guys have any capabilities for filling in those holes or reviewing the data?
Yes, we do. We do, absolutely. Generally speaking, when we get to really complicated B2B use cases, we partner with companies like Hawk Search who specialize in being world-class at search. So I would say our capabilities are good. And to get to great in this regard, it takes a partnership with a company like yours.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Good. Yeah. We see that a lot. We need to, have clean data in order to produce clean results. We can bring LLMs into it to clean up that data. And sometimes the underlying platform, that's a term we use for Shopware and your competitors is platform, do that as well. But data is a core part, and that's an area where LLMs really can excel. From a business model perspective, you see Shopify with a huge marketplace with lots of merchants and so forth. Is that part of your business strategy, or are you focused more on the specific technology and the licensing directly?
Well, okay, so let's talk about Shopify because I think they've been so successful that they've created a whole bunch of lookalikes. Okay, and I got to be honest with you, trying to outdo the market leader by running the exact same plays generally doesn't end well. And so what they've done is they've created a business that 3 out of every $4 they make comes from their payment business. Okay, so their entire incentive is around GMV. And that is really a consumer-centric view of the world, okay? Meaning B2C-centric view of the world.
All right.
The second thing they do is they're multi-tenant SaaS, which means that if you have a noisy neighbor, if you're in the same tenant as Taylor Swift the day she announces a new product line, you might get taken down. That does happen. The third is they have online terms of service, which means they can change their price at any time, and they did it just like Netflix did, just like Disney did, just like anybody who has pricing authority does last year. And they'll probably do it again this year.
Yeah, I like terms of service. I never could get my head around that. It's like, who's signing this stuff where it's like, I'll sign something that can change it, the whims of the other side?
Exactly. And they also have another component in it, which is really important, around the acceptable use policy, which means the products that you're selling as the merchant, they have the opportunity to say, we no longer want to sell those products. Okay. So think regulated industries. So think about like hunting and fishing, think about government, think about healthcare, fintech, anything that's regulated. Shopify has
especially with dual use nowadays, you could just be, a washer for an engine, and that's dual use and gets regulated. Yeah,
exactly. Especially in B2B. And so all the way back to your question, the path to success, and so Shopify also charges a revenue share. Okay, that's the fifth point around Shopify. So to beat them, to offer something different that the market really wants, we offer the ability for the product to be hosted however you want, including a multi-tenant SaaS offering that we have. Most customers take self-managed or in AWS or something like that.
Yep.
We offer the ability to pay as a license fee as opposed to a rev share. So very CapEx friendly as opposed to OpEx. We have an acceptable use policy that says if it's legal to sell, you can sell it with Shopware. And not a lot of mumbo jumbo legal words. That's the rule. And so we really try to give the market an alternative option, especially if you're mid-market, especially if you're in complex commerce. We think that offering and that combination really serves the market dynamics.
That is fantastic. I didn't really fully appreciate or understand the details behind Shopify's business model, but not trying to out Shopify, don't out Salesforce, and so forth is words of wisdom.
Don't try to out talk search.
There you go, right?
Well, this has been an amazing conversation, and I love that. Don't try to out-search, hawk search. Jason, where can our listeners and watchers find you or Shopware?
Well, you should find Shopware online, shopware.com, and me personally on LinkedIn, Jason, last name Nyhus. And if you send me a note, please add a note on as to why, and I'd love to be in touch and talk.
One other thing that I'm aware of is that you're doing meetups, local meetups in different markets. Is that right?
We are fairly busy. We're kind of all over. We generally go to about every industry event my team could come up with, and I go to about half of them. But yes, and we actually have a really cool event in New York for merchants and partners called Shoptoberfest in September. So if those folks want to co-opt someone else's culture and make it very American version of Oktoberfest, you could join me there as well.
Let's meet there. We'll go to Bryant Park because they're going to have a big Oktoberfest thing going on. We can have a beer and a pretzel.
Two birds with one stone. Ours also has plenty of beers and pretzels. So maybe
we'll go to your place because it'll be free. We're going to pay for them at Bryant Park.
Perfect.
Awesome. We'll be sure to include all of that in the show notes so it's easy for anyone to find. And thank you again for everyone for tuning in. Thank you, Jason, and see you next time.